You are about to enter a territory that few men dare explore, and those who explore are never the same. My name is Laert, and this is the Gods of SEMEN channel. Here, we don't talk about seminal retention such as fashion or internet challenge. We talk about men who understood that their semen is power, consciousness, direct access to higher levels of energy, clarity, and personal dominance. If you are tired for no reason, with your mind stuck, without direction, without purpose, feeling that life is passing and you can't get up firmly, I know exactly what you are living, because I've been there. The good news is, there is a way, and it starts inside you. Seminal retention is not abstinence, it is revolution. It is the code that activates its true male archetype. This is what turns anxiety into focus, weakness and discipline, and confusion into unshakable presence. Stay with me until the end of this video, because the information I will reveal you here is not in the books, it is hidden in your own body. And today, I will show you how to unlock it. If you want to be part of this silent revolution, you already subscribe to the channel now. Activate the bell and enter this journey with thousands of men who have decided to stop getting lost and start mastering. The world already has too many men obeying. What he needs now are uncontrollable men. In the modern world, pleasure has been transformed into a control tool. What was once a sacred channel of connection between body, soul, and purpose, today became bait. The trap is subtle, almost imperceptible, because it acts where the man is more fragile, in the search for relief. When you ejaculate on impulse, you are not just releasing semen, you are delivering an access password. Immediate pleasure is not a reward, it is disguised submission. The sex industry, incessant visual stimuli, and even effective relationships carry an invisible script, leading man to seek orgasm as a goal. The result is a cycle: stimulus, discharge, obedience. After the pleasure comes the apathy, the emptiness, and the silence of those who lost power without realizing it. The recurring ejaculation destroys its internal fortress. You begin to hesitate, give in, accept emotional crumbs. Your mind gets drunk. Your vital energy evaporates. Your gaze becomes begging. Intuitive women realize this. They feel when a man is vibrationally vulnerable. After orgasm, its energy field opens like a wound, and this breach becomes a control pathway. You start to give in more, doubt more, back off more. Your voice no longer imposes respect. Your decision no longer carries weight, because you have already been energetically disarmed. And all this started with what seemed just pleasure. The myth that pleasure releases is one of the greatest mistakes ever implemented in the collective male unconscious. The truth is that when you seek pleasure as an escape, you imprison yourself. When you enjoy to relieve yourself, you weaken yourself. And when you have no mastery over your seed, you have no mastery over your soul. Seminal retention is not repression, it is resistance. It is not chastity, it is command. The man who understands this moves away from the emotional game. He stops begging validation, selling his essence for a moment of pleasure. It breaks with the script that was designed to dominate it inside. And when this break happens, the world realizes. Because a man who does not ejaculate easily does not give himself easily. And a man who does not surrender is impossible to control. When man decides to retain his energy, he changes his frequency, and everything around begins to react. The woman intuitively realizes that something different is before her. It is no longer that moldable, available man, always waiting for a signal to surrender. Now she feels an invisible barrier, a vibrational wall that doesn't bend with caresses or emotional games. The energy that was once lost in sheets now accumulates within it as a spiritual shield. The man who retains not only protects himself, he intimidates. His presence becomes solid, grounded, irreverent. He no longer smiles to please, nor bend to avoid conflict. He imposes respect without raising his voice. There is something in his eyes that paralyzes the attempt to manipulate, something in your silence that says more than any explanation. And that is precisely what disarms. It does not give in. It is not justified. It is not fragmented. The woman can't control the retainer. She chases him because it represents what is missing in the world: self-control. In his eyes, there is no need. There is a decision. In his speech, there is no search for approval. There is certainty. And when he plays, it is not with a desire to possess. It is aware of who is the driver of energy, not the conducted. It is an inverted exchange. Before, the man surrendered to be accepted. Now it contains to be respected. Everything changes. The voice thickens. The gaze clashes. The mind becomes impenetrable. What was once passive becomes command. What was once reactive becomes a center. Retention puts him in a position of government, about himself, about his desires, about his interactions. And in this position, he doesn't need games, no need to beg, he doesn't have to compete. He vibrates and the world responds. This is not just a behavior, it is a spiritual posture. It is the birth of a new masculinity, where pleasure is no longer exchange chip, but field of internal power. Where the body is no longer the target of fleeting pleasure, but a temple of refined energy. The retainer does not play the female game. He redefines the rules with his presence. And the woman feels it in the first second of silence. She may not say in words, but her body communicates what her mind hides. She needs you to release. You need you to encumber you, to maintain emotional and energetic control over you. The subtle touch, the long look, the affectionate tone of voice. Everything is unconscious strategy for activating your impulse, opening the breach and collecting the power you carry. And most men don't even realize that they are being drained, smiling. Behind every intimate moment where you surrender without conscience, there is a game happening. A game where you think you are winning, but you are emptying yourself. The modern woman has learned that she no longer needs to discuss, ask, or demand. It is enough that it stimulates your biological triggers so that you bend emotionally, energetically, and spiritually. Sex becomes a subtle ritual of energy domination. You feel potent for a moment, but then the void returns. And the frightening, she fears the man who learned to say no. Because he doesn't enter the script, it breaks the sequence. He does not respond to the touch with submission. It does not bow to the call of bed like a servant. This man, the retainer, is on mission. He understands that every time he says yes to unconscious pleasure, he is saying no to his ascension. And when he refuses to deliver her, she sees what she never wanted to face. She no longer has power. Each ejaculation is a breach, an energy portal that opens and delivers its strength. And what comes in there? Fear, confusion, attachment, manipulation. What comes out? Your clarity, your decision force, your long-term view. The man who does not understand this lives in cycles of loss, of energy, of purpose, respect. The retainer, on the other hand, becomes the new spiritual rebel. Not the one who fights against the world externally, but what breaks internally with the invisible system that wanted it weak, addicted to female approval. He does not reject the feminine, but do not kneel before him. And that's exactly why it becomes uncontrollable. Because there is no hidden button that can manipulate it. Your energy has been shielded, your mind sealed, and your soul activated. What only seems like a biological impulse, in fact, is the oldest battlefield of humanity: male libido. The war was never against his body, it was against his soul. Each time you ejaculate without conscience, you are delivering not only your energy, but your spiritual authority. And while you enjoy, it rules. Sex, when disconnected from sacred intention, becomes a weapon. And who holds this weapon today is the system. The modern woman, unconsciously or not, has become the instrument of this game. And with each inconsequential orgasm, man distances himself from his axis, his focus, his mission. The sexual field becomes the place where your will is tested, your spirit is drained, and your mind is cloudy. The ancient masters knew. Taoists taught that vital energy, Jing, must be preserved. Gnostics warned of the fall of the soul by excessive pleasure. Tantric texts revealed the power of sexual transmutation. Everyone spoke of the same thing. The true man does not surrender. He transmutes, because he understood that pleasure is not the end. It is the beginning of the test. The woman in this scenario is not an enemy. It is a symbol of trial. The one who, pursuing the pleasure, moves away from the truth. He who honors her as a manifestation of divine energy without submitting to her, rises. Sex becomes a mirror. It shows whether you governs or are being governed, if you dominate your instinct or it is dominated by it. The man who dominates his sexual energy becomes a threat to the system because it can no longer be manipulated by advertisements, pornography, promises of quick pleasure. He does not buy. It does not bow. He does not surrender. And that is why seminal retention is the most powerful silent revolution of today. She doesn't need flags. She doesn't shout. It transforms inside until man becomes uncontrollable on the outside. And when that happens, it ceases to belong to the world of ordinary men. It becomes an initiator, a destroyer of illusion, a priest of his own energy. And no woman, no structure, no voice can more govern, because he became the empire itself. If you feel you were born for something bigger, but you still don't know how to access this force, it's time to wake up. I present to you Alchemy of the Gods, the book that brings together the most powerful spiritual secrets ever revealed. Kundalini, crystalline oil, and the liberation of the male soul. A true journey of inner transformation, written for those seeking clarity, elevation, and dominion over themselves. Whether you are traditional, digital, or auditory reader, the book is available in physical format, ebook, and audiobook, accessible for all lifestyles. Click on the link in the description or in the fixed comment and start your journey now. But first of all, I have a novelty that you didn't expect. Get ready to unlock your true vital energy with audiobook Semen Retention Success Path. Unpublished content with more than 2 hours plunging deep into the 6 essential pillars of seminal retention. This material is the key to restoring your focus, recovering your discipline, and starting a real, physical, and spiritual transformation. What's more, when purchasing audiobook, you get a 30% unique discount on the ebook, The Art of Semen Retention for Men, with 20 pages of advanced techniques to activate your spiritual strength, maintain emotional balance, and align with your true purpose. And if you really want to be part of this silent revolution, become a member of the channel. Members gain early access to content, priority responses in the comments, and special benefits. Also, you directly support this work, so that it keeps reaching men who, like you, are ready to wake up. The biggest difference between an ordinary man and one chosen is not in the body. It is in the destination he has decided to fulfill. While the ordinary man seeks pleasure to relieve the pain of his disconnection, the chosen silence, observes, breathes, and transmutes. He knows that within his semen lives a sacred alchemy, capable of becoming mental clarity, strategic vision, and unshakable discipline. When a man stops surrendering to the world, he begins to see with new eyes. The mind previously cloudy by stimuli and orgasms is cleaned. The energy that was previously dumped into sheets now rises through the spine as a fire that purifies and reorganizes. Transmutation is not theoretical. It is physical, vibrational, noticeable. You start to feel when a woman lies, when the environment rejects you, when the attack is spiritual, and you react with mastery, not despair. This difference is what separates the ordinary male from a true man. The first search approval. The second manifests presence. The first run after. The second attracts. The woman feels it. Women do not follow men who empty themselves. They test, despise, or discard. They are naturally programmed to look for the center. And the man who retains, transmutes, who shines without trying, becomes this center. But that has a price. You become rare. And because it is rare, you also become lonely. Because few will understand the silence of a man who was once the world and decided to go back to himself. Active retention. Ancestral archetypes, the warrior, the priest, the king. Energy that were dormant now rise in you with fury and peace at the same time. You don't have to prove anything. Your energy speaks. So ask yourself, who do you become when you stop giving to the world? When do you say no to empty pleasure? When you decide that your semen will no longer be a bargaining chip, but raw material of power? This is the question that changes everything. Because when you respond with action, the old man you die, and the man who was born of the fire of discipline is the one the world can no longer manipulate. Because now, you are God of your own temple, and this temple does not bow. He commands. The man who chooses seminal retention not only distances himself from the mass, he assumes an invisible position of authority. Your energy changes frequency. He does not compete, does not scream, does not force respect. He is. And because it is, he dominates. The world does not know how to explain, but feels. This man carries something that cannot be bought, copied, or manufactured. It carries unpaid essence. When you hold your energy, you break the silent rules of the modern game. You do not validate the female ego. You do not rotate in the flirting cycle, desire and reward. You become the player who knows too much, and therefore does not mix. Retention puts you above collective hormonal dance. You observe while everyone gets lost in the impulses you have already surpassed. This new alpha does not need to be followed to lead. He becomes such a solid presence that even his silence screams. People notice you without understanding why. Women get restless close to you. Men try to compete, but shut up when they realize that there is no breach. Because what you carry is not posture, it's armored vibrational field. And that is precisely why the retainer becomes untouchable. There are no words that break your concentration. There is no insinuation that removes your energy. There is no emotional manipulation that exceeds the invisible wall your semen has raised inside you. You become a man armored inside. And that's where real respect is born. This transformation is not mystical, it is energy mathematics. What you keep, you strengthen. What you discipline, you expand. And what you dominate, free you. The new alpha is not the one who imposes itself. It is the one who vibrates so high that the world fits around it. And that no orgasm delivers. But retention reveals. Every man is paying with something, and most of the time is paying with his vital energy. Modern society taught you that pleasure is freedom, but it did not tell you the cost. Each time you ejaculate without awareness, you are negotiating inner power by external validation. And this invisible exchange happens in silence every day. Female validation, which many confuse with love, is the highest price a man can pay when he is disconnected from himself. He smiles to please, gives in to maintain, ejaculate to guarantee interest. And in the end, gives the only thing that made him special, his full presence. You exchange presence for acceptance. Exchange strength for attention. Exchanges essence for a moment that dissolves in the void. The retainer, on the other hand, closes the bill. He doesn't spend. It accumulates. Your sexual energy is not currency, it is a seed. And each retained drop turns into charisma, clarity, magnetism. He does not need to negotiate his essence by affection. He is the temple itself. He is the altar. When a man realizes that he is selling himself for passing pleasure, he wakes up to the truth. Spiritual collapse begins when you deliver what it is to try to achieve what you should already attract. At this level, the retainer does not play the game. He breaks with him. He knows that each innocent exchange, a compliment, an approval, a touch, can be a vibrational contract with invisible consequences. Therefore, he watches his energy as a king watches his throne. He is not a slave to hunger. He is the lord of his own appetite. And it is this reversal that scares the system. A man who doesn't have to pay with semen to feel alive. A man who carries his own source. A man who, by choice, does not surrender, and therefore rises. If you continue to deliver your energy in exchange for momentary pleasure, you will spend your whole life being controlled, emotional, spiritually, and mentally. What you feel at the bottom is not just tiredness. It is your soul asking to awaken. Transformation does not start when you understand, but when you decide. Royal, react, renaissance. If this video made sense to you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and watch the next recommended content, because the next step of your evolution begins now.